So what do you figure? I'm East Coast Pete. Welcome to my show. Who named that band? Who named that band the WATERBOYS? This is an excellent Brit Irish folk rock band formed in Edinburgh in 1993 by Scottish musician Mike Scott, the only constant member. They are folk rock and roll. This is Mike Scott's band, and whether he's doing a solo project or touring with his band, he sees it all as one thing. And the themes are paganism, celebration, primitive divinity, spirituality, Earth Mother, and ancient distant ancestry prior to civilization, hunter-gatherers to agrarians, the feminine side of religion, both mono and multi-theistic panthology, and green man from the tarot. There are three distinct phases of the WATERBOYS: big music, folk, and mainstream. They broke up and reunited in 2000. The sound now alternated between folk and rock. Before the WATERBOYS, Scott was a member of another pretty face, a latter called Funhouse. He then formed the Red and the Black with Tony Thistlethwaite and Kevin Wilkinson. The WATERBOYS name came from a line in a Lou Reed song. The kids on the album, Berlin. Their first single was a girl called Johnny, a tribute to Patti Smith. Their first gig was on the BBC's Old Grey Whistle Test. Carl Wallington joined on keyboards. Here's the debut LP, The Decemberg. 2, A Girl Called Johnny. 3, The Three-Day Man. 4, Gala. 5, I Will Not Follow. 6, It Should Have Been You. 7, The Girl in the Swing. And 8, Savage Earth Heart. The second track on the second album, A Pagan Place, was titled The Big Music. Commentators picked up that description of the WATERBOY sound. Now the first three albums are all known as big music. Other bands have adopted the big music sound, including U2, Simple Minds, Intua Nua, Big Country, and Hot House Flowers. And these are just a few. The WATERBOYS supported the Pretenders and U2. Steve Wickham joined on violin as a guest artist. Their third album, This Is the Sea, went to 1985. It sold better than the previous albums, and the single The Whole of the Moon charted to number 36 in the UK. Scott refused to lip sync on TV shows. He just wouldn't do it. That took away Top of the Pops. Marco Sin replaced Martin Swain on bass, and Chris Whitten replaced Kevin Wilkinson on drums and was replaced by Dave Ruffy. Wallinger left to form his own band World Party. Guy Chambers replaced him. When Wickham joined, the band became interested in traditional Irish. Scott relocated to Dublin, and this led to the band to be known as the Raggle Taggle Band. It was the second phase, all folk music. Fisherman's Blues was the first LP with the new lineup. Critics and fans were divided about the change. Too Close to Heaven was the follow-up. In 1990, the follow-up was given a follow-up, Room to Roam, a trad ballad of the Raggle Taggle Gypsy, which was a standout, but then Wickham left since Scott wanted to go back to rock. Shannon and Blakely also left. Ken Blevins came in on drums, and rock music began again. Hutch also left just before a new single, The Hull of the Moon, was released. This song had been on This Is the Sea, which had been their best-selling LP. The release went to number 3 in the UK. Scott put out an album with session musicians titled Dream Harder. 2 top 30 singles were on the album, The Return of Pan and the Glastonbury Song. Scott had no one to tour, and the WATERBOYS were sunk. But Scott wasn't done. He resurrected the Waterboy name and put out a new album, A Rock in a Weary Land, a new sound inspired by Radiohead and Beck. Some listeners were shocked I say. Thistlethwaite and Wilkinson returned. Rich Naif was the new keyboardist. Even Wickham came back on violin, but then Scott wanted to do an acoustic album. And this was Universal Hall, and those listeners who weren't shocked before were shocked now. At least Scott had a band to tour. Universal Hall had a Celtic taste. I guess Scott has made up his mind not to make up his mind. An appointment with Mr. Yates was next. This is 20 W.B. Yeats songs put to music. There were rave reviews. It was 2011, and Scott has lived in Findhorn, by the way, a famous spiritual section of northern Scotland. What's next? Blues? Shocking Blues, maybe. They're a little bit further north. And that's what I have on this band. It seems like they're all over the place, but I think they're all over the place in a very cool way. They just don't want to get nailed down to one kind of genre, you know? He wants to do what he wants to do, and that's all there is to it. It's just that, you know, when you go to a record store and you buy an album, you probably should, like, read the stuff written on the back to make sure what genre they're happening to be in at that moment. So if you're going for rock, you want a rock album. You want going for folk, you want a folk album. You're going for blues, you want a blues album. So, you know, it's not like they're color-coded. I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for being with me. Bye-bye.